Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shay Douglas from the Earth Heroes production team, and today we're back Tuesdays. This is our third episode with the wonderful wise women of Queensland, Southeast Queensland, Australia. We got Angie Quinn, Sally Douglas, and Colleen Scott. This is our third conversation together, and we like to keep this really real, keep it raw and very relatable. So today we're talking about how to and different ways to find the calm, the peace, the balance in amidst of the chaos, in the darkness of the storm. And it's a really fun kind of little topic just to open up the discussion around how we relate to ourselves and how we also relate to the world. And before we jump into the conversation, I just wanted to thank you for watching this video. If you do find value in this video, I want to invite you to like, comment, and subscribe or share this video. You can see just along the bottom there, click the little like button, subscribe, and you can also get notified on the upcoming videos that we share. This conversation is exactly that. It's a conversation based upon life experiences. These wonderful wise women have multiple years accumulated between them, as well as I, 28 years just gone. And we're all contributing to the conversation around how we can be better humans in the world, how we can understand at deeper levels what's going on in our internal landscapes. When we come out to our environment, to our families, to our communities, we can serve the world in a more holistic approach. So it's really exciting to have these ladies back for another episode, another conversation. Thank you so much for joining. So before we jump into it, we normally do this again, this is a live video, guys, so apologies if you receive any mistakes or it cuts out at any point, but we keep it really natural and organic, and it flows really organically. For that, the first question that I want to open up to you ladies is, before we get into understanding how to stay calm, what exactly is the chaos? There's lots of talks around turbidity and turmoil in the world right now, potentially on an emotional level, maybe even on a financial level. It could be chaotic and very stressful. Also looking at the physical elements of chaos and what dynamic of life, or really, can you kind of give us a deeper explanation, definition on what is chaos, and what kind of circumstance do we currently find ourselves in within the greater scope of the world or our community? So what's the most chaotic thing happening right now?
So I kind of was given this a little bit of thought the last little week, because I know often we can talk about, whether we're perceiving the world as chaotic by us being in resistance to what is. And I felt like when I perceive something as being chaos, it's usually because it's not going the way I want it to go. So I'm in resistance to some degree with what's actually happening. And that can be in relationship to, money or career or relationships or, personally right now, like not being able to travel to see family and friends. So for me, chaos kind of really stood out as when I feel like it's not like about lacking control, but I'm not in complete control of something. So I'm having to surrender to something that's happening. So that was kind of my little aha, I guess, moment about what I kind of, for me, determined chaos, what it looked like.
Like to suggest also with that there is an element of uncertainty when we've been used to a certain way of operating, whether it's in our family life or our business life or anything that we might pursue in our lifestyle. When it becomes a totally different ball game that we're uncertain of, and I think that creates chaos, because we're having to go with the flow. We're having to adapt and be flexible. And with the current global situation, that's thrown a whole new level of uncertainty in many areas of many people's lives.
I think I was thinking about what chaos is too, and the level of confusion and disorder that comes en masse. I think like the world is actually experiencing an upgrade in its operating system on all levels, whether that be, if we look at the external, like government, but also to the individual. And I looked at like how has it affected me individually, and then my family, and then community and how I show up in community. And then also I expanded into the astrological chaos and the absolute confusion in the bombarding of the external messaging and the overload that we're experiencing just as individuals. And aside from the source of the chaos, which was seemingly the virus, I was questioning whether or not the chaos was always there, but it took something like the virus to reveal it. So it took energy sort of, when something moves really fast or when something moves really slow, energy changes. And I think the virus moving fast, and then individuals, us having to take a very long pause and our whole lives changing, whether it be from our own change or we were really restricted by governments in this instance. And that in itself caused chaos. The simple slowing down and the pause caused the chaos. Normally chaos happens when things go really fast, but in actual fact, in this instance, the chaos was a result also of things slowing right down.
Thanks, lady. I was just taking some notes there on some of the words that you shared around chaos and resistance, uncertainty, unknown, confusion. And I really liked how you related to what's going on in the external world. However, what I really want to focus on today is how we come to understand the internal chaos. And before we go into that, I just want to acknowledge Miss Happy Home Chef from Brisbane is watching. Hello, Miss Paula. Thanks for commenting. And for the rest of you guys who are commenting and watching live right now, this is a live conversation. You're welcome to join the conversation by leaving a question in the comments for us, and we'd be happy to discuss them and potentially get you on the show somewhere down the line in the future if it aligns. But thanks for watching. And bringing it back to the calm and the chaos. Hey, Kira Louise just jumped on there as well. Just want to acknowledge you there. Love you too. What does it look like when we talk about internal chaos in terms of like our emotional triggers, emotional triggering responses to stimulus or circumstances or things that are outside of our control? But how do we flick the switch and focus on the things that is within our control? And it's from my experience, the awareness of the chaotic kind of reactions to our external environment. So this is where I want to shift the conversation, is to how do we become more aware of those triggering chaotic internal experiences, so that when we come out to the world, we can navigate it in a more composed and calm fashion. Also, so ladies, if you want to just unmute yourself and then feel free to share what's relevant.
Okay, so yeah, I think that internal external relationship is actually quite important, and I know for me, awareness is the key word in all of that. I for me personally, I know when I can feel that heightened emotional state, or I can feel that overwhelm. That's kind of the red flag for, okay, what's happening here that I need to slow down, take pause, and shift inwards to kind of look at, how am I thinking about something? What emotional reaction as opposed to response I might be having to something that perceived outside of myself. And I think that's the key, is being able to have that shift and those self-reflective practices so that I can catch myself, because life is always going to be happening, and there's going to be things that, the uncertainty is always going to be there. Change is always going to be happening. For me, I find just trying to catch myself in those moments. So making sure I've got practices that I'm constantly checking in to see, where am I? Like, what's my perspective about something? What's my belief about what's happening, and how is that contributing to creating more chaos? Or am I taking my power back and choosing my thoughts and my beliefs, my perspectives, and my emotional states around what's happening in my life?
Oh. Yeah.
Sorry.
I think you're exactly right with the way we interpret things. A lot of the time, I find when I'm looking to the future, I get caught up in the thoughts of what's going to happen, what it's going to look like, instead of actually being really present and being in the real moment and being in the now. And once you can let go of racing ahead of yourself, you can quite often let all that chaos and all of that emotional reactionary just drop away. So I think it's really important when you're starting to find yourself in that position that you just bring it back to the real present moment. And the breath is probably the very starting point.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Awareness and presence, I think, are the two big keys that I've been working on with clients. As Cole said, really looking at physical, mental, and where our bodies are responding to an external stimulus, and what tools and techniques and practices and rituals that we employing in relation to self-regulating, so that we're able to not project our own wounding or our own trauma or whatever it is that we're moving through. And I know, given the chaos of the world and the slowing down of everything, the isolation in itself brought up for many, many people trauma that sometimes didn't know existed, but it just needed that quiet time, that time of isolation or silence, or not being so stimulated by the external environment, that we as humans were kind of forced to go internal and look at our own responses to the external environment. And as Cole said, where am I responding and not reacting? And I think comes back to self-responsibility in relation to your own emotional intelligence as well. And I think that's, as Sel suggested, that breath, but what I was using personally and with clients is embodied practices that give the client a somatic experience. So voice, sound, nature, what else? Dance. Dance was a good one. Anything that supported the movement of any stagnancy in the body.
Yeah, I feel like self-care comes a lot into this as well too, because the more we can be grounded in our own experiences, so doing anything to release the stresses in our own bodies, the more chance we have of being able to respond to those external stressors. So I know I like to walk every day on the beach, like barefoot in the ocean, out in the sunshine, fresh air. There's just simple things like you can do to, especially like starting the day before life kind of happens at you, the kids, work, whatever it is, turn on the TV or whatever is happening in life, that if you can just be calm, like centering your own self and calming your own internal world, so that you're better able to be in that place of response. And then throughout the day, just checking in, okay, have I gone down this spiral where my thinking and my emotional states are taking me further into chaos, as opposed to remaining that calm, grounding presence in life for myself and then for those in my sphere of influence. I think that's something that's really helped me over the years.
I think too, from a family perspective, gathering your family and gathering in community. So I know we gathered as a family all over Zoom, but I'm assuming for parents with younger kids to gather in circle and to check in with the kids and see how they're feeling and teach them to self-regulate their own emotions, given the bombardment of external messages that they were hearing from their peers and from the television. And I think that's been an important part of managing the chaos as well, is coming together in community as families, as friends, as working in the workplace. I think that's been important, an important part of supporting each other, to help each other inform each other as to what's really happening for them individually, and how are they managing then and showing up in the world, given the experience of something that a lot of people haven't experienced before. Oh, there's some sirens.
There's chaos going on out there.
Chaos going on in Byron Bay.
Something that came up for me as you ladies were talking, thanks so much for sharing those insights, was an experience, a short story that I wanted to share with you. When I was down in the Byron region, living in a little camper van, and I popped in to see Angie. And I was working through some blocks at this time in my life. I remember there was a few little challenges. I had this crazy dream, and there was all this, as she spoke to, stagnant energy. And I went around to Angie's place, and we had a lovely breakfast and got to hang out. And then she just initiated me into this process to really shift that energy. And I remember we cranked the music. She got me singing. She got me dancing, drumming, moving, getting it, releasing it. And because I had these like dreams that were kind of like very scary, of something holding me down and holding me back, it was to the intention was to move and shift this energy. And we did a big cleansing and clearing process throughout the van. It was clearing all the space and the energy, and I found that really beneficial to help me move past the deeper psychological challenge that I was stuck in, and help me break through and move through it. And I guess why I'm sharing this story right now is because I'm curious. You've touched on it a little bit, but what is particularly for yourself, and I'm open to hearing kind of success stories with clients or people that you've worked with, or even with your own family, the best tools, when shit hits the fan and someone is struggling, they're really like down and out for the count. What is it that, maybe it's even yourself, and you're in that pit moment of your life. What are the tools? What is the wisdom? Or what is the guidance that you really drop into to help you just totally transform that, breakthrough, come out the other side, and continue to live to see another day?
That particular instant is harping back to one of Angie's suggestions, which was to actually really voice things and talk them out. Like the really confronting things that are really, really deep. Once you've sat around the table as a family or in friendships or anything, that anybody you're relating with, and you really face-to-face confront those horrors or demons, and once you've released them and then you've been heard, that seems to me like the most fruitful way to move through them.
Yeah, really good point, Sel. I agree, and also to questioning them. It's often what you make something mean that keeps you stuck. Yeah. And to actually question the meaning that you're giving something, which is usually based on you're believing something about yourself or somebody, that's kind of keeping you stuck and keeping you in this one-track mind or wounding or whatever's coming up for you. And sometimes that, you know, you are required to sit with a coach or sit with a friend or a family member or someone that knows you and loves you, that can offer a compassionate ear, as they say, listen with the ears of the heart, and support you as you move through that, not necessarily fixing or rescuing, but just allowing you to express, as Sel said. And because usually we actually can answer our own questions when we're given the safety and the environment, that safe environment in which to explore the mental, which is usually the first thing that kind of tricks us up. And then I think we may have done that, Shay, just with a few questions. You know, is this true? Is what you think you're upset about or what's happening for you actually what's truly happening for you? You know, is that really true? Because we're never often upset for the reason we think we are. There's always some kind of underlying belief that's driving it. And so it does pay to be with somebody that has some expertise and some skills, but that's not always available. And so the self-help tools around questioning something, is this true? Does this thought belong to me? Is this feeling that I'm having mine, or am I, because there's so many of us that are sensitive and highly empathic, you know, and you in particular are one of those people. And I think we were sort of confronted with all sorts of energies and entities and sort of external things that were contributing towards your internal state. And we know that that's a possibility. Astrologically, you've only got to have a full moon to ask any woman in relation to what's moving in her cycles. And I know the masculine feel that in particular, you know, particularly as well. So you've got something to add to that, Colleen?
Yeah, I find for me, depending on, I guess, the degree of what's happening, even something as simple as stopping to take a deep breath, like when you catch yourself. So I think that's why the self-reflective practices are so important, just like checking in continually throughout the day to kind of see, you know, what is happening for me on that mental, emotional, you know, physical, energetic spaces. And it might just require me to go, okay, hold on, I just need to stop for a moment and I just need to take a deep breath and just shift out of this thinking, because often, you know, the same thinking that got you into the chaos or the problem in the first place is not the thinking that's going to get you out of it. It might require going for a walk and shifting the energy. Like I loved how Angie was talking about, you know, dancing and using the voice and, you know, just shifting that energy so you can get into that different state in order to move through whatever it is that's happening. And then oftentimes when the challenge or the chaos might just seem so big or so overwhelming, then yeah, absolutely, you know, reaching out for support. I think it's really important to, whether that's in circle or having a coach or just like a friend that you can just talk things through, because once you give that voice, it kind of like gets it out of all the mumble jumble of the head. I love journaling for that reason as well too. Then you can actually see what you're working with, like, you know, what am I thinking about this, and naming, like, what am I actually feeling about this, and what is this, you know, emotional state trying to tell me, and how can I use this to move through, so I can get to the other side of bringing, you know, moving through the chaos. And I don't think there's ever like a point you get to where that's it. It's just that we're constantly in this change space. So again, this is why these practices and these conversations are so important, because it's going to just naturally always be a part of life. And we need to learn how to navigate them and understand our thought patterns and our perspectives and our beliefs and our, you know, emotional regulation. And as like mothers, all three of us are mothers too, and then helping, you know, our children and our partners, and we've all helped each other over the years navigate challenges in life, which, you know, I've been so grateful for as well. But definitely, yeah, community, I think, is a big part of that, especially for those bigger challenges that it's just sometimes too much to try and just get through on your own.
I love what you said at the beginning too, Cole, around loving what is and understanding. Like, I love Byron Katie when she says, how do you know something's perfect? Because it's happening. And so being able to have that a good psychological mindset in relation to life And then knowing yourself. I think, physician know thyself, physician heal thyself. It's getting to know who you are and how you respond to things. And that's a combination of knowing how you physically respond and where does stress and tension show up in your body, and how do you respond to that. And tension's just information received in our bodies that we're not able to yet process. So it's good to have a mindset of like, oh, I've just listened to the news and now I've got a pain in my neck, and it's like, oh, that's really interesting. So staying curious about how your body responds to information that it's not yet able to process or manage, or it doesn't know what to do with, or it's making it mean something in particular. So I think look at, understanding ourselves physically, mentally, like how we judge things. Are we able to be an allowance of information that's being received or what's happening, or are we making it mean something and judging it, emotionally? Where do we go? Have we got a level of emotional intelligence that can support us to manage chaotic times? And I think this last 12 months has been an opportunity for many, many, many people to jump online and to get lots and lots and lots of support from the spiritual world and the self-development world, because we've not been able to see clients. So lots of online programs to support people to know themselves better and know who they are, and therefore own their own stuff and come into self-rulership and sovereignty in relation to who they are, and self-authority, so that and get in touch with intuition so that you can make an informed decision how you want to be in the world, or how you'd like to respond to something, how you'd like to respond to the chaos, and how you can stay calm, and then how that, in your own calmness, how that filters out to the world, and what kind of butterfly effect can you have by simply taking self-responsibility around your own response to things. I think it's really important.
It sounds like a journey of self-mastery.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what is happening to me is happening for me. But also interpretation of the situation. So it's seeing it as a lesson as opposed to being a doing at me.
Yeah, I think that's a good part of it, Sally. I'd like to always look at, okay, what's the gift in this experience for me? So whether that is like a skill that I need to develop, or a characteristic to strengthen, or like how can I know gratitude gets thrown around a lot, but if you really understand what that means, is when we're in that space, it's just we've simply been able to see, okay, this is the gift or the lesson or the benefit. And when we're in that space, whatever the experience is, then we can have gratitude for it, and therefore it releases us, as opposed to us even having to release it. I know that's something I've had to use many points in my life.
Yeah. Another one that's coming to me, Cole, since you've said that, is connecting to your own disconnect, if that's where you've gone. And am I okay that I'm not? Can I be okay that I'm not okay? And just putting your hand up and saying, I'm not okay. And I know that's really the challenge for sometimes us as coaches, as facilitators, as mothers, because we don't want to be seen to be not being okay. But to be transparent and vulnerable, and I think that's a really important part about of handling your own internal conflict and internal chaos, is the capacity to be able to be courageous in your transparency and your vulnerability, and making it okay that you're not okay, and that's okay.
Well, that's ultimately asking for some help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for
and sometimes we actually don't know what the internal conflict is. We'll rack our brain, and that's when we have to get into it. It's like when a great idea comes to you in the shower. You'll sit at your desk and try and think of something, but then when we get out of our conscious mind, the unconscious and the superconscious really knows how to guide us and support us. And sometimes it's about getting out of our own way and getting out of our conscious mind and thinking that we can come up with a solution to something. And by getting into the embodiment practices of voice and breath and dance and What else have we got? Sound.
Anything creative, yeah.
Any creativity. Beautiful way. A beautiful way of, getting out of your head is creativity. Yeah.
Great insights and wisdom. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. I want to just honor our boundaries, and we did commit to a 30-minute video this time. You girls ladies, I should say, have so much to share, and that's the exciting thing. We have lots of time to share it. But before we close out, I just wanted to just one final little statement. This has come from a comment that we've received from the Happy Home Chef in Brisbane. Hi, Paula Morris. She says, I agree with all the tactics you talk about, but always think of the tactics after the chaos. When I'm in the moment, it's hard to think of these tools. What would you ladies suggest as a great practice to overcome, these deeper challenges? And thank you, Paula, for commenting. This is a great question for the ladies. What we go for it.
And I think Paula's not alone. I think this is actually quite a common situation. And for me, all the things that we've talked about, it's important to be practicing them every single day when life isn't chaotic, or the moments that aren't chaotic, because when you're in the chaos, you're going to go into fight mode. You're already in stress mode, and it's like trying to learn a new skill when you're already stressed. It's not going to go well. So I find I always encourage people whenever they're learning a new technique or tool, that I encourage them to just get into the practice of sticking with one thing. Start with one thing and just practice it throughout the day till it becomes second nature. It just becomes who you are. So when those stressors or those challenging moments come up, that's all of a sudden your default setting. And once you've mastered one, then you can bring another one in, and then, another one in. It's a continual growth cycle in that, because we're all guilty about, like, when we're in the chaos, like, the last thing, the brain's going to shut down for starters. So you have to have, like Angie talks about, those embodiment practices are so important for this exact reason. And it's about actually just practicing them every single day so that we become them, or they become part of who we are and how we show up in the world.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Sel nailed it before with there's one thing that every human knows what to do is to breathe. Yeah. And to remember, if that's all you remember is just to breathe, and once you can bring your breath into some form of self-regulation, usually, if you're in a situation that's really chaotic, and you might be presented with something that you've never been presented with before, ever. So you may not know a tool or a technique to use in a certain instance. And it simply may be when you connect to your breath, usually you connect to your intuition. So just by stopping and slowing that breath down just a little bit, you may get your intuitive guidance system will sort of just jump in prior to you even knowing that it needs to, or but also too, like in really traumatic events, have you ever noticed that people actually know what to do? Yeah. And they may need that adrenaline to support them. And so I just think it's such an individual thing. What Cole said is that's exactly what we need. And then you get the other extreme whereby you'll just be told in the moment. And that's the capacity to be able to listen, by connecting with your breath and then just listening as to what's the next step for you. And I think that's probably the two ends of the spectrum. Is trusting that you will know, trusting that you will be able to handle some kind of chaos or internal conflict, and I think drawing on all of us would have an experience whereby we've actually known what to do in that very moment.
I really love that, Colleen, that you said, just don't wait for the chaos, just start anyway.
Yeah.
Let's just be doing this anyway, and it will all be a natural process when we are in those push states of, of extremeness. So if we practice on a daily, then those will be the things that naturally drop in. So I thought that was a beautiful way of expressing, let's get on with it.
And Angie, you highlighted too something we hadn't even really spoken much about too, but that intuition. So that whole thing about the breath, tapping into the intuition, and the more we do that, and same with mindfulness practices, all of those things, if we're just doing them every single day, then when something big does happen, we're just automatically going to know what to do, because we can just hone in on, okay, what does this require right here, right now from me in this moment, and just get on with it. Yeah. Awesome. Such wisdom, ladies. Thanks.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful insights. It's always such a pleasure to get together in this circle every Tuesday to open up these conversations. And I just want to give a shout out to all of you who are watching right now. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for your comments, your love, and your questions. It's been phenomenal. Thank you. I can see Donna, Chantel, many people here, Kira, Paula, Marianne, Nikki, Alicia. Thank you all for tuning in and watching, leaving us a comment. We're going to be getting together next Tuesday, same time, 3 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. And I really like that idea of having a conversation around intuition. Maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into this beautiful, intuitive, gut, instinctual knowing that we all have within us. Exciting topic to talk on. Seems like it's getting the good vibes from the ladies. So
my intuition told me today to suggest that as a topic for next week. I've even got a paper at the top.
Love it.
On my daily list of things to do, I've got topics intuition.
Love it so much. Thank you, ladies, and thank you for watching.
Thanks, Shay.
Guys.
Thanks, guys. Love you, girls.
Thank you. Have a good week.